recording, and then I will just be a minute or so while I'm looking for something to talk about.
Yeah, time to heal up. Targets in sight. Very fast. Push on.
The objective is now active.
All right. Be careful about using just like holding down left click when there's nobody in front of you, because then this means that you just waste all the ammo for when you actually have people to shoot at. So you have a very limited range, right? You can see your range is, I believe, 5 meters or so. And here these guys are just very clearly outside of that said range. And then therefore, right now we end up wasting our ammo. And then I think we're about to engage here in a moment. And then now we only have 30 ammo, right? So we're about to land on top of them. We shoot at them, and then we immediately need to reload, right? And then that's an issue. So I'd recommend just let go. You might even be able to reload with that time as another option. So if there's not somebody immediately to shoot at, just let go of the button, and then if you have extra time, then you can reload as well.
Barrier activated. Watch yourself. This will protect.
All right, so we're going to talk about a couple of different things there. So firstly, let's discuss target priority. So when it comes to target priority, I think we're going to bring X out here for a minute too while I discuss this. So when it comes to target priority is just who should you be looking at and shooting at? And generally speaking, you want to look at and shoot at the easiest targets to kill, not the hardest targets to kill, because the hardest targets to kill just won't die. They'll just be the super hard. It's that simple, right? Now, what that looks like with your gameplay is tanks are generally the hardest targets in the game to kill. And probably we don't want to be spending too much of our gameplay time looking at them and shooting at them, as it's not going to be super productive. They have 2 to 3 times the health of other characters. They have armor, they have shields, they have tanking abilities. They're just super tough, and we don't want to spend all our time looking and shooting at them, because then they're just going to keep on living for the next 20 seconds. But when we look at the easier targets to kill, we'll actually be able to kill them a lot easier. So what this means and looks like is when you have equal opportunity. So for example, okay, you have a let's say this is a Reinhardt and this is a Mercy, right? You have equal opportunity to turn and look at either. Instead of just running after the Reinhardt, you want to go after the Mercy instead. And then also you want to actively seek out those other characters. This is very easy as Monkey because you have a leap where you can just instantly get to their backline, right? And just leap and get on top of their backline, even getting past the tanks, right? Which is very helpful. So even among the supports and DPS, there are going to be easier and harder targets to kill. Like for example, who's going to be easier to kill? I think in the last game they had an Ana and a Mei.
How would I? Because I think in that one I was really scared of that Roadhog hook,
Critical hit.
and I guess I was getting punished a lot with the Mei and the Roadhog, so I think that was keeping me from targeting anybody.
We will talk about how how to get closer to them in a moment here, but just generally speaking, who's easier to kill, Mei or Ana?
Oh yeah, absolutely Ana.
Absolutely Ana, right? And then we spent a large amount of our time focusing on the Mei and the tanks, right? That was like most of our fight in the last one. Additionally, like Zenyatta as well, it's probably one of the easiest targets in the game to kill, right? And we didn't really look at him whatsoever. So we want to make sure we're looking to go for those guys and actively going for them. Now let's discuss a couple different ways that we can do that. Firstly, this gets, I guess it gets a little bit more complicated from here, but you have cover usage. I haven't seen a ton of cover being used, so let's discuss that real quick. If I'm standing right here, and the enemy team is standing over there, and they are all looking at me and shooting at me, it takes 1, 2, 3 seconds to get behind cover, and then from here you're perfectly safe. You cannot shoot through solid objects, but in that time it took me to walk there, I died. Right? But if I'm right here, well, now that means that I can just do this in half a second, and now they can't see me, right? And that's 6 times faster than when it just took me previously. So therefore, good positioning is the usage of cover, and bad positioning is the absence of cover. Too many times we just kind of like did this, where the enemy team's there, and we just kind of went like this, right?
Oh.
Which isn't going to be too great, because then you're soaking up all the damage in the world. You're not using cover. Additionally, you're walking in a straight line, which is making it very easy for them to shoot at you, right? Just if you're walking in straight lines, it's just very easy to basically on their screen you're not moving at all. So then you just line up with your head and just go bam bam bam, and you're dead. Now, cover's all over the place. You have slopes, like so. You have pillars, right, that you can go in and out of when you're low, when you're reloading, when you're being shot at. You have corners that you can use. You have random objects that are sitting around, like the payload. You have pillar, corner, doorway, corner. High ground also all acts as natural cover, so they can see you. Now they can't. They can see you. Now they can't. Right, so high ground's also another fantastic way to use cover, which gives you extra survivability. And then additionally on top of that, high ground's also fantastic because most characters can't reach you up here. Two-thirds of the characters need to go and take the stairs, and then the other third that can get to you need to use abilities, and then now they're out of abilities, which is good, more additional survivability. And on top of that, you have a ton of visibility from up here, where you can see people over here, 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 all the high ground. Where we're on a low ground, well, now we can't see over there too well, or over there, or any of the high ground, right? So high ground's also going to be fantastic to keep in mind when you're thinking about positioning. So just real quick, we're going through a lot of subjects there. Does that all make sense? Do you have any questions on any of that?
No, it'll be fun to try to incorporate that in play.
Yep. So when we're going in, right, a lot of times what it looked like is we would do this, where we just kind of walk. We realize we're low HP, we back, and then we'd get healed, and then we would just repeat it, and we'd walk, get shot, repeat, right? So there's other additional options. We have cover while we're approaching, right? So for example here, if we're trying to get from point A to point B, and there's a whole lot of open space. There's a technical term for this called no man's land, where it's just a big long stretch where there's no cover whatsoever. If we're trying to cross this, we don't want to just walk straight down it, right? We have a couple different options. Well, firstly, we have jump, which can close that distance a lot faster, but we probably also want to be using cover the whole way through, right? So rather than just walking straight down the middle, we can maybe like leap over to the side here, right? Get healed up if we need it, right? Maybe recharge our leap or something like that. Then we can, leap over to this side, and then now we've just crossed that whole wide open area with taking very, very little damage and using cover the whole way through. And then now, if we try to walk at them, we're only 5 meters away, right? Which is a lot easier than trying to walk at them from 30 meters away, right? So we can just do this, and now we're instantly on top of them, right? Additionally, we could do something like this, where we're all the way back here, and we just take the high ground, and then we can just literally drop on their heads without them being able to see us the whole way through, right? Because they can't see us at all, and then we just drop on top of them, and we're good, and then we have leap to get away with as well. Okay, so that making sense a little bit of how we can approach it a little bit better.
Yeah, definitely not just walking up to them and feeding their spores.
Yep. And then additionally, if we see the opportunity, we can also leap on them. If we see somebody who's out of position or low HP, or we have our ultimate, those sort of situations, we can also just leap and jump directly on top of them.
Ready for battle.
So here, you can probably see this a little bit here when we in this engagement. So you can see how we kind of so we leap in. That's good. That's fine. And then we back up a little bit. And then watch how we just kind of walk back in, straight down mid, right? Not really using cover, kind of walking straight down at them. We see, oh snap, we're low, and then we back out. And then we walk back in a little bit. I think we're about to leap out in a second. Yeah, we leap out, and then we walk straight back in a straight line, right? Straight through the middle. And then we use cover, but we're just really far away from it, and we're taking damage that whole time. And then we leap out and we walk straight back in, straight looking at their tanks, right? It just looked like that cycle repeated a couple times, where it's just kind of looking at their tanks, walking straight down mid, not really using too much cover, and then that just leads to a lot of damage with very little results on our end. Okay, may go over some jump techs at some point here. All right. Okay, little early of a bubble because we're kind of still traveling midair, and I think that bubble ends up landing on the floor there because we're not directly over it when we're placing it, or at least on the very edge, and then we don't really end up using a lot of it. Additionally, note that we're jumping on the hog once again here, right where we do have the soldier right next to him, so that's a little bit maybe of audio awareness, but then also once we jump up here and we see both of them, maybe we can also just turn to the left and shoot at the soldiers. So there's audio awareness of hearing before we're even jumping up, and then there's also visual awareness once we do jump up. And Hog's not a fantastic target to be dueling it in whichever case, right? So we probably don't want to be even leaping on top of him. I think you were saying like, oh yeah, I was having a lot of trouble with Hog. Um, you're probably gonna have even more trouble if you're jumping into him versus avoiding him and jumping around him, right? That's probably gonna be even more rough for you. It's not a great Hog versus monkeys, not too great for the monkey. Hog does have the advantage, so look to avoid him and stay around him, and only really go for him if you have the opportunity to do so, right? He's low. Oh, that was another thing to mention. You can 100% go for the hard targets to kill if they're low, if they're out of position, if they're the only thing you can shoot at. Now, that last one, in a lot of cases on monkey, maybe that would be like if you don't have a leap, right? You can't just leap to their back line. But in a lot of cases, monkey, you can just very easily get to the back line.
All right.
Here we also have our ultimate that we could pop, and then that can help save us here and keep us in the fight.
Oh, so fast.
Note that often we're just kind of walking to the fight and then plopping down our bubble. This isn't going to be a super effective way to use your bubble very often, since that's kind of how you use some of the other shields in the game. Like you might use Reinhardt or Sigma or Orisa like that. You just kind of go in and you plop it when it's needed. But Monkey Bubble isn't really like that because it's just not good for that, because it has such a wide surface area with so little health that if you do that, in a lot of cases, it's just gonna, if their team shoots at it, it's just gonna go down in a second, right? It's just gonna get blown up absolutely out of there instantaneously. So it's really bad for using it like that. Now, there are a lot of instances where you can use it. You can use it to block abilities and ultimates, which usually are gonna be very high powered. You can use it when you jump in on top of somebody. So what that does is when you jump in on top of somebody, right? Let's say that we're just jumping to their backline or something, we bubble, right? So what this does is this means that we're protected from everybody on the outside while we're shooting at them. We cut off healing and team support from them, right? So they can't get healed from the outside, and they can't get, they can't get abilities, maybe like a bubble or something like that. And then additionally, this keeps this person just basically isolates them and keeps them away from their team, right? So this would be a really good time to be using bubble, as well as when you're engaging and jumping in on top of them. It keeps you alive longer when you're jumping in on top of them. You can also use it like if there's extreme danger situations, right? Like your team you see a teammate's like 1 HP or you're 1 HP and you need to save yourself from dying, right? That's something else, another time where you can use it, right? Is danger. Noting that danger is different than being low, right? I can be 1 HP and sitting in spawn and be perfectly safe, and I can be full HP and right next to a Diva Bomb, or full HP and in the middle of their team. That's a lot more dangerous. So wait for your team to be in danger. Being low health, even though it's not indicative of danger, it usually does mean that it does affect it usually. So that whole concept makes sense with bubbles. Usually just wouldn't recommend just like plopping it there and then leaving it immediately.
Alrighty.
Hello.
I do have a lot of trouble tracking the abilities on other heroes that would make my life hell.
Yeah. That's something as well you can pay attention to. Is just like think about the ones especially. When did they add that in? He just waved back at me.
Oh, that's new.
I don't remember that. So in any case, getting this sidetracked there. Yeah, keep an eye out on like the abilities that can especially be dangerous for you as monkey. Like on their team, what is an ability that could especially hurt if it did land on you?
On the current team comp they were on?
Yeah.
Let's see, they had but they had the hog hook. They
Yep.
had a May, so the wall, Discord from the Zen, and I can't remember what the other ones were.
Yeah. Zen Discord's maybe like less avoidable. Like it's a little bit harder to just like get away from it unless you run around the corner. Maywall, you can is I would say slightly less. Yes, it's dangerous, but slightly less so since you have leap and whatnot. I would say the big ones to watch out for that you can actively look to like block with your shield and stuff like that would be, or your bubble would be like hook and sleep and nade, right? Those sorts of things. And then that would keep you alive in those situations. Let's talk jump for a second. So if you're trying to maximize distancing and whatnot with jump, so here we're gonna start at 10 meters. We're gonna do a normal jump, right? Normal jump gets us to here. Now, if we do if we just hold our space bar at the end of that jump, we're gonna do a little bounce at the end of our jump, and then watch how much extra distance that gives us.
Whoa.
Yeah, it gives a lot of extra distance. So if you're trying to get some extra distance on your jump, like for movement and whatnot, just hold down your spacebar and you'll get a bounce at the end. Um, Additionally, if you're trying to go further as well, this one you might be more familiar with, but you want to just angle based off of how much height and distance you want. So if I were to look upwards at kind of a diagonal angle here while also holding my jump button, right? Now notice I'm even further, right? So angling further as well is going to help out. Now, I can't actually remember. Jumping may actually, before I leave, might actually help as well here. Let's see if that gets me any further. So I'm going to jump, look up, hold it down, just an inch further. So probably not really too much of a big deal if you jump or not. You can also just, if you're trying to get up higher, right up, of course you look up. I saw you doing the tech where you kind of look up and then come back straight back down. A really handy one, this is probably one that you really want to learn because you probably use this almost like a third of the time or a fourth of the time that you ever jump, and that is short jumping. So a short jump is where you just saw how I jump all like 20 meters away, right? A short
Yeah.
jump is where I do that, right? Um,
Oh.
and I go like 10 meters away, right? How this works is you're going to just hold the S key, so you kind of backpedal while you press the leap key, right? And that's really as simple as that. You press backspace while you leap, and that pulls you backwards from leaping.
Oh. I thought I was hitting walls. That's why I was going short. Okay.
No. Yep, it's holding the S key, and then that way, this is gonna be very handy, especially if somebody's just like, if you're just trying to get up to someone who's really close, or you're trying to do extra damage, right? Because leap does damage, right? It does a decent bit. So if you're trying to leap and get on top of somebody who's closer to you, that's gonna be a really good way to burst down their health. Additionally, I would recommend when you leap on top of somebody, you're going to want to melee as you're landing, because the melee will animation cancel in with the landing animation, and it will basically give all that damage all at the same time. So it'll look like this, where I'm actually, I booped them off before, right? They're full HP. Yeah, okay, they're full HP. Well, let me kill them real quick. When I leap on top of them, they're going to receive the damage all at the same time. I think I messed that up a little bit, but I'll get a better demonstration here. All right. So I'm going to land, and you didn't even see the melee there, but that I actually meleeed into that. So you get a little bit of extra damage as well when you land on top of them. That I think is it for the techie stuff at the moment. This is especially going to be very handy. Short jumping is going to be almost a necessity when you're primaling, because often if you're primaling and you are doing a full leap, then you just end up sailing past the person, right? So if I do this, grab a McCree, right, and I primal, and I boop, and then leap, watch how far I go, right, in comparison to them, right? So if I'm trying to juggle them, I boop, and then do a short jump, and then do another short jump, and that keeps me with the person, right? So that's especially where it's going to be handy. All right, so let's hop back in.
Traveling to Nepal. Ready for battle.
Get in here.
Don't move.
Barrier activated. Get in here. Regen up.
Cease your
Okay, so now we have our. So let's discuss hard diving versus soft diving. So hard diving is anytime you're going in super hard. You're going in usually with the intent to get a kill. You're hard engaging, right? It's just think you're using all of your you're not always, but you're using a lot of your abilities. You're committing, right? It's a commission. You're committing, right? I'm
Okay.
just repeating myself. That's what hard diving is. Now you don't want to hard dive every single time you ever dive because that's not going to work out too well for you. You just, if you just jump into their team anytime you ever jump in, then you're going to get melted and shredded and you're going to be dead. But there are definitely times where you can hard dive. So, for example, if somebody's isolated, right? So, like, soldier's up on the high ground for himself, by himself, right? That's a time where you can hard dive him, because you're going in, you're hard committing with the intention to kill him. If somebody's like less so, but like maybe if somebody's low HP, or your whole team is engaging with you, or you have a really massive advantage, right? So it's like a 6v2 or a 6v3. So they can't kill you super fast. Or another one, if you have your ultimate, because your ultimate is basically a get out of jail free card, right? You can go in super hard commit, go for the kill, they get you down to 200 HP, and then you pop ult and you're instantly back to 1,000, right? So that's another one here where you can just go in and go in super hard. Now, anytime you're not hard diving, you don't want to just sit around and do nothing. That's where soft diving comes in, where you are basically not really committing. You're going in with not the intention to get a kill or to commit. You're going in with the intention to get some ult charge, to create space for your team, to be a distraction, to do some extra cleave damage, and to hopefully open up for an opportunity. And that's really what soft diving is. Now, different ways that you like, kind of the differences between let me think if I do this. So ways that you can soft dive versus hard dive, right? Because hard diving would be, I just I see this guys, I'm going, right? I'm in, right? I'm just hard engaging. Now soft diving is a little bit more nuanced. Typically, it's a good idea if you are able to engage without your leap, because then you have leap as a way to disengage, right? So high ground makes this super easy because I can just be up on the high ground, drop down on top of them, right? Poke at them a little bit, they pressure me, I back out to the high ground, right? Really simple, really easy, and then I just rinse and repeat. I get healed, I drop, I poke, I leap back until something happens, right? Until I get an opportunity, until I can hard dive. Um, you can also do this the reverse. So if they're on the high ground, I can leap upwards, poke at them, poke, poke, poke. I feel pressured. All I have to do is just drop, and then, in a lot of cases, they're not going to just drop from the high ground to chase me. I might have my team here to heal me up super easily. So that's going to be a way that you can soft dive if you're going up to a high ground. If you don't really have a high ground or whatnot, you can do the cover thing we were talking about, right? So you're just traversing cover. From cover to cover, you're getting as close as possible, and then you're just kind of walking in from this short distance, poking at them, poke, 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 and then you have leap to disengage with if you need it, right? So that's hard diving versus soft diving. Where maybe I would say that we're not really going for like hard dives when we could. I'd say we're kind of like mixing them up in some situations where we're not really going for hard dive situations where we could, like we have our ultimate here, and then we're also not like really soft diving when we should be, right? It's a lot of just kind of chilling around, doing here or there damage. Maybe sometimes we're going in super hard. Maybe sometimes we're just kind of poking. It's kind of a little bit more all over the place in when we're doing each. So does that whole concept make sense?
Absolutely.
Alrighty. So here, right, maybe it could be starting off on the high ground. That might be a little bit, because like notice how they just kind of shoot at you and pressure you out super easily. We're kind of forced to shoot at the Orisa and the Mei here. Now, if we're on high ground, then we can kind of wait for them to come in and then drop on their backline, which their backline is made up of Soldier, Ana, Zen, which would probably be a lot easier to kill. Why don't we do that real quick? Target priority. We're jumping back to target priority. Usually, I find it very helpful to make a list in your head when you get into a game. So every single round, just look at their team comp, come up with a quick list, and think, okay, who should I be killing easiest to hardest, right? And you can make tiers with this to make it simpler. If people are very close to each other in how easy they are to kill. So, for example, let me do our team. So, our team, top right, I would look at our team comp and I would go, okay, on our team, I would probably say that Soldier and Baptiste are kind of on the same tier. Then next would come Lucio, and then Reaper, and then you would have finally probably Monkey and then Hog, right? So that would kind of be your tier list. If you want to combine a couple, you could. I mean, if you wanted to make it really simple, you could just say Soldier, Bap, Reaper, Lucio, Hog, Monkey, and those would be your tiers of how easy people are to kill. And then that you just want to look to actively focus the easier targets and avoid the harder targets unless you have opportunities.
All right.
Yeah. So would you really quickly want to walk through what do you think their team comp would be?
On easiest to kill, tier 3
Yeah.
being the easiest.
Yeah, or I mean, the tiers can really go. I mean, you can do 1, 2, 3. The tiers don't matter which way you go with it.
Oh, okay. I
But
got you.
yeah,
Easiest would be Zen. Then I would probably go Anna Soldier. May. I think it'd be easier for me to kill the horse than Hog. So
yep,
those would be the last three.
pretty much got that spot on, right? Like you could maybe pair a couple people together. Like I don't know, you could pair the tanks, but yeah, you pretty much got the ordering superb spot on. So look to respect that and go for those targets. But like if you're thinking about like in the past 3 minutes, who we've been shooting at, okay, well we haven't touched Zen once. We've maybe like tickled Soldier for a second, tickled Ana for a second, and that's it. Right? It's just been the other three characters, and those who we discussed are the hardest things to shoot and kill, and then therefore we haven't really secured any kills. Okay. So here we have our ult, so we can probably just go and get super aggressive. Once again, just like we can just leap straight on top of their Zen here, and then start primaling them around. Alright, that's what we do. It's maybe a little bit late in the engagement. Okay, kind of got lost a little bit there.
Yeah, I did.
So make sure looking to just disengage. After we get that kill, maybe we can just like I don't know, leap up in the air. Look to just get away. Watch the health bar. Just make sure we're putting in effort to escape rather than just kind of continuing to go on them. So it's a little bit more like health bar watching there. All right.
Let's group up here. Area activate. Group up.
Alrighty, so Wall is definitely much more of a threat on Reinhardt than Monkey. So we want to be careful about it. A couple things we can do is, there's also another issue that I didn't really notice here. So let's discuss Wall in a second. This gets into how do you tell whether or not you have won or lost a fight. And this is gonna be incredibly important thing to know. When you and this comes down to watching kill feed on your top right corner is going to tell you when you're up or down people. When you are up 1 to 2 people, that is an advantage or a disadvantage, and in which case you play more aggressive or more passive. When you are up or down 2 to 3 people, that is a won or a lost fight, in which case you play extra aggro in a one fight, or if you've lost, you get out if you can, or you don't or you just let them kill you if you can't get out. And then you also don't want to use ults in a won or lost fight. Now that also means you probably don't want to walk in to a fight that you are actively already lost the fight or at a major disadvantage in the fight. So here we're re-engaging into this fight when we've pretty much already lost this fight to begin with, right? So we're walking back in when it's a 4v5, so we're at the very minimum at a disadvantage here, and then Soldier dies. So we're walking in a 3v5, which is just already initially walking in, and we've lost before we've even engaged, right, at this point.
Okay.
So it's better that we sit back and wait for our team, and then that way we don't waste so much time and feed them a bunch of ult charge, and that just is going to save so many fights when we're paying attention to stuff like that. So, yep, any questions on that?
No, not yet.
All right. And then Maywall. So Maywall right? Let's assume we do have our whole team here. Stick with your team, play with them. That way, if if you're walled off, with multiple teammates, not just yourself. Look to bait May wall. So like here, right? Where's May likely to wall?
Right at the pillars.
Right at the pillars, right? Because that's where she gets both sides connected to something, right? This is what you call a choke point. It's a little funnel. That's where May walls like to go. So another one would be between these two pillars, or these two pillars, or these two pillars, right? It's just this right here, right? So you can identify where the wall spots are, and you want to like kind of pretend to go through, right? So you can maybe go through an inch and then double back and just kind of stand on the spot. Because if she walls, then you just kind of get propped up in the air, and you can back off to your team. So it's kind of baiting out the May wall and looking to get her to use it, and then going in after she's used it. Now, if she just refuses to use it and never does, then you could always potentially just walk in as a team. You can look to come in from a different angle, like you can go left, you can go right, something like that, and then those are some other options.
Alrighty.
Push up.
Get behind me!
Let's get you healed up.
Touch from afar.
What?
Okay. Probably don't need to be like shielding here in the situation when we have a little bit of an advantage, right? It's kind of like, as of this moment, it's like a 3v1 on the Orisa because we have two healers on top of us and Orisa's by herself. So we probably want to be getting just aggro and swinging on top of her because there's not a big reason why we should be shielding. We have like all of our health to work with. We're not low at all. So just go swing, go ham on her. Whereas we're kind of just like letting her get away for free by not doing that. Because we got her down to like 1 HP before we were, and then in that time we probably could have killed her if we just took an extra 3 swings on her.
Oh, okay. Oh no.
Uh-oh. Well, make sure we're watching the hook. Be aware of our surroundings. Watch for the hog. Alright. So, we're engaging here. Do we have our team? Right? No. Currently we're down 2 people, so we're doing the engaging while down 2 thing again, right? So this is just already a lost fight before we've even engaged because we're just already down 2 people. And then, yep, that's not going to be too great for us. Fire Strike off a cooldown, you just want that out there doing stuff, just pretty much unless it's like a really bad situation, like you're 1 HP or something like that. You want to be just Fire Striking as often as you can because it's a really good source of ult charge, where additionally just extra damage to get out there. Just going to be charging up your ult as soon as possible.
Get behind me!
Okay. Make sure that when your shield's low, you're not just flashing it up randomly, but you're letting it recharge. So notice how it's like 300 HP, and then kind of for not a big reason, we're just kind of putting it up there, and then that just means that it resets the process, and then we put it back up again, and then we put it down, and then we put it back up again, and we put it back up again, right? So we're just kind of using it over and over and over again. We probably just want to let it recharge and put it and leave it down. All right.
All right.
2 things here. Let's discuss shield usage, and let's also discuss application.
Justice will be done.
Oh man, some of these sessions are hard when you're just talking the whole way through. All right, shield usage. When it comes to shield usage, basically you use shield when it is extra needed, and you don't use shield when it's not really needed. That's very simple. Let's walk through that. So you use shield against abilities and ultimates. Maybe sounds a little bit familiar to what we talked about with the monkey, right? You use shield up against danger, right? So let's say you're low, your teammates are low, you have a bomber next to you, right? Things like that, right? When you or your teammates are in active danger, you shield. Hide, your team's in a grab, something of that sort. Then you can also shield when you're engaging and going in, and when you're backing out and playing passive, right? Those are other times where you can shield. And then really you don't want to just be shielding against random spam. So you don't want to just kind of be sitting here and shielding, because then you're just not really accomplishing too much. Is McCree, or let's just say Orisa, right? Is Orisa shooting at you or your teammates for 2 seconds or 3 seconds really going to be enough to kill you? Probably not. And then if someone's getting close to dying, then you can put up shield instantly, right? That's an option. So really just you don't want to shield against random spam damage. Now as we are approaching as Reinhardt and backing out, you should probably be implementing something called shield hopping. Are you familiar with that term?
Yeah, I'm really bad at it. This is the worst hero that I want to learn
Hmm.
for mechanics.
Okay, so I go like just practice it in the training range, but I'll like walk you through the steps real quick. And then when you want to use it. So you basically, how this works is you just leap forwards, and while you're leaping forwards, you are putting up shield in the midair, and then as you land, you're dropping it, right? And then it's just rinse and repeat. So it's leap, shield, leap, shield, leap, shield, leap, shield. So you're dropping it as you're hitting the ground. Leap, shield, leap, shield. I'm just holding W this whole time, kind of spam jumping, right? And you're just finding a nice rhythm with it, right? And then what this does is it means that instead of, if I just walk in without any shield, I die. They melt me, okay? If I walk in holding a shield, then I walk in super slow and they melt my shield, and then by the time I get here, I don't have a shield, and then I die. If I shield hop, then that gets me in faster, which means I take overall less damage. But then also means that our shield is taking half damage because it's only up half the time, and the damage that leaks through isn't enough to kill anybody, right? It's just kind of tickling everybody else, right? Now, you want to mainly be using this anytime you're trying to go in or back out of somewhere really, really fast, right? If somebody's low, of course, hold it up. If you're 1 HP, hold it up. But anytime you're trying to go in fast or back out fast, you do that. You can also do this backwards as well, shield hopping backwards. Okay. Reinhardt, not sure if you knew you can do this, but you can also look around yourself with your shield up. You do that by holding left click while you're shielding, and that gives you some visibility over your surroundings.
Hammer down!
I use that. I think I forget. I get tunnel vision pretty bad.
Traveling to Nepal.
Oh, right.
Ready
So
for battle.
application. So when it comes to working on the things that you're trying to improve on, you want to make sure that you are actively focusing while you play. That means that you are not going to autopilot.
Ready
You're
for
not
battle.
going to just play to play. And contrary to popular belief, you're not going to purely play to win, as that just ends up leading to stagnation. Whereas when you play to improve, you end up actually winning more. Now, what that looks like is you're going to pick something out. So let's say, let's pick a category. Let's say awareness, and just watching kill feed and stuff like that, right? So you're going to actively think to yourself, awareness, 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 kill feed, kill feed, kill feed, kill feed, kill feed, kill feed, right? You're giving yourself a constant stream of reminders to pay attention to your surroundings. And when you do that, your awareness is going to be better, because that's really all that awareness is thinking about your surroundings. And when you remind yourself, you're probably going to be thinking about your surroundings more. Now, when you do that for a long enough period of time, that forms it as a positive habit. Once it forms as a positive habit, then you don't really need to worry about it as much anymore. It just kind of comes naturally, and then you can move on to something else to work on. Now, I would recommend, we've talked about so many different things here, and a lot of them are really important, but don't try to do everything all at once, because that will just get overwhelming. Instead, focus on one category of things to work on, or 1 to 3 smaller things within a category. Yeah, that's about it. Any questions on that?
No, not yet. They a lot of things I didn't even know were happening. I was like, oh shit.
One.
No!
This fight ain't over yet.
No!
Go wash for the hook.
Oh,
Be once again awareness of your surroundings.
Essence of discovery.
Okay. Leap away. Maybe make sure it's a little bit closer to your team, right? Instead of leaping into them. Might not be the smartest decision because then that ends up happening.
I definitely didn't forget what color I was. Ignore that.
All good.
This will protect us.
Oh, let's break it. Damn!
Okay. Once again, look at the kind of the target priority here. So we're coming in, and then even after we see that they're all right next to each other, look at kind of who we're aiming at when we're turning around here, right? So we turn. Okay, we look at the break for a second, but then we change targets and swap over to looking at the wrists when Anna's like right next to a wrist, right? And then we look for the hog, right? And then we go for the hog, who we establish is the hardest target to kill, right?
Oh, I got bullied.
Barrier activated. Vital signs normalizing.
Yeah, like if you master like there's a couple big things we talked about. If you master like any one of these things, you probably rank up a whole rank just on its own, right? So like just target priority. If you master just thinking and actively seeking out the easier targets, you probably go up like multi-hundred SRs, right? Or like you, yeah, I don't know. That's like because where you at right now? You're bronze, is that what you said?
I just crawled out into the beginning of Sober.
All right. You'd probably go up like 500 SR just off of shooting at the right targets because things will actually start to die when you do that, right? And that's the beginning of making sure that you're actually getting value and getting kills is that because so far this whole game we've just kind of existed. We've just kind of been there, right? We maybe created some space for a team, which is like half your job as tank, right? Creating space is good. You're doing a decent job of that, but we're not actually securing kills, which is missing out on so much value. Where if tank is divided into securing space and getting kills, right, like half and half, you're missing out on like half of your whole kit, right? Just because I mean, like not just because, but largely because we're shooting at the wrong targets. Now you could also say things like cover usage, right? Another massive thing. If you just use cover more, you probably multi-hundred SR rank up, right? So just really make sure you're putting these things into action as you're going through. Okay, kill feed watching, right? Multi-hundred SR, because then we're not leaping in and getting super aggro when it's a 1-2-3 versus 1-2-3-4-5-6, right? That's just we're going back in during an already lost fight. Are you familiar with the term staggering at all?
That's when. That's why people, when they're not really paying attention, like I do it all the time, they just keep
Mhm.
running forward, and it's like what 1v6, and then 2v6, and then 1v6.
Yeah, that's what I would call a stagger train. So staggering in and of itself is just basically dying late, right? Or in this case, kind of dying early? Question mark. It's just dying with away from your team, separate from your team. So now, your team, right? Let's say they all respawn, and they have a decision to make. Either A, they wait for you, in which case you've just wasted a ton of time because you kind of ran in randomly, and then now the time you have less fights to get in this whole game, right? If we staggered twice, that's basically a fight that we just wasted, right? Now our team, if they do not end up waiting, then they can walk in without us, and then that's when you start a stagger train where we went in and died, and then they went in and died, and then they went in and died, and they went in, and then you just never get a fight, right? Or again, you end up wasting so much time. So stagger train, like trains, think of them like a chain. If you're the one person not joining in, then that can end up breaking the chain a little bit, right? In a lot of cases, and just also end up saving so much time for you and your team.
Alrighty.
So here, I'm assuming you die. Yep, that's kind of to be assumed. Okay, or actually, we make it out 1 HP.
That's fair.
Luck, very luck.
So here, right, we're trying to get to the back line. We're going for their team comp swapped up a little bit, right? Probably going for like their Ana, or at least just poking at their back line, right? We're looking for a soft dive. Okay. This concept is called off angling and or flanking. So let's give some examples. So let's say, I'm trying to think of an example of an off angler. All right. So let's say just looking for an example for an off angle, right? Enemy. Why don't I just leave? That'll be easier, right? Practice range makes this easier. All right, so off angle and flanking is how you can actively put into practice what we just discussed with getting to their back line, right? Very easily. So enemy team, our team, right? This is what you call the main angle, right? This is just the running straight down main. Okay. If I try to go through this, I just shoot the tanks and the shields and their tanking abilities, and they just have so much to get through. If I try to just leap into them, it might not go too well for me, right? But what I can do is I can wrap around to the side here and just instantly get to their back line and then just leap back to my team if I need to, right? And it's relatively safe while getting me straight to the back line, right? It's so safe and fast. That's an off angle, right? Another example, enemy team, our team, right? Take like 2 seconds, run up. Oh, I messed up. Take 2 seconds, run up to the high ground, right? Drop from high ground instantly on top of them, right? This is an off angle. A flank would be more like if enemy team, our team, it'd be like if we went around and around and around, right? So now it's a lot longer and a lot more dangerous from back here. So you want to be careful about which characters you're doing that on. Monkey can do flanks decently because he has more mobility and survivability, but you probably wouldn't want to do that on certain characters. Or on a lot of characters, but Monkey can do it decently easily. So going now back to the fight that we're in. To the scenario.
Traveling to Nepal.
I am. Let's see. Oh wait, maybe we died here. So we're back here. All right, 5 seconds. So we're coming in. Which do you think is going to be more efficient? The other thing to know is that when we come in from the sides and the off angles, it's a surprise. They don't know we're coming. They have less time to react, less time to shoot at us, less time to hit us with abilities and damage us, right? If we're coming from the side rather than the front, right? Here, which would probably be a better angle to take? Just coming down here and leaping straight into their Ana, or coming in the right side here and then leaping into the Ana.
Oh, whoops, I wasn't. My bad. Oh yeah, go around that right side there.
Yeah, because then if we come this way, then all these guys can immediately start shooting at us. They all see us coming. We take a lot of extra damage, right? We leap and they can see us the whole way. Ana sleeps us midair, where we fall into the void, we die, right? Right side, we can leap on them with a lot more cover. They don't see us coming. It's a surprise. Or we could potentially even just like walk in and shoot at these guys, or walk all the way around and shoot at the Ana, right? We just instantly get on top of her, right? Without taking any damage whatsoever. So that's things to pay attention to there. Alrighty, so now we are going to go over the main points, do a quick review, and then wrap up from there.
Alright.
I still can't get over the fact that they wave back now. That's weird, or I guess funny. So ability usage. Don't just plop a bubble for no reason, right? Use it when it's actually needed. People are in danger. You're engaging. You're backing. Pretty much all the same thing. Pretty much for the most part the same things we were saying for Reinhardt, except for just be more careful with it because you have less of it and it's a long cooldown. So you want to be more reserved. Don't just kind of walk into a fight and plop it and then leave, right? You can plop it if you're in a duel, if you're on top of people, right? Those sorts of things. Isolate people with it, right? It's a little bit different than Reinhardt shield. Leap, hold space at the end for the bounce. Short jump, hold backspace. Aim up for extra distance. Hard dive versus soft dive is a little bit more, I guess, that's less of the leap mechanics and more of aggression. So we'll talk about that later. Now And then overall, probably around like a medium priority for you to work on for abilities.
Would you
Ultimate
like to
usage,
donate your
I
body to
do not.
science?
I think I saw like one ultimate.
Excuse me for dropping
And
in.
the ult was, you know, it was okay. I think I definitely would like to see more before I really commented on it too much. So, I mean, the one that I saw, probably like a low to medium priority, but nothing that too much that I spotted because I only saw one.
All
But
right.
note that short jumping is definitely gonna be handy when it comes to ulting, right? Um, moving on. Monkey does not have mechanics per se, shooting mechanics, but he does have target priority, and target priority is massive, right? Shoot the easiest targets to kill, not the hardest targets to kill, unless you have an opportunity to shoot the hardest targets. Come up with a quick list in your head in between every single round, and if they swap any characters, and then that way you know who should you be shooting at. Don't hold down your beam if there's nobody to shoot at, right? You have a, looks like 8 meters, 9 meters range on it, right? Don't hold it down if you're outside of that range, because then it's just wasting all your ammo. Even reload with that time too. Overall, this whole category probably went to like a low end of a medium high priority for you to work on.
All right.
Then positioning. Positioning, make sure you're using cover. Good positioning is the usage of cover. Bad positioning is the absence of cover. Take high grounds. We talked about like how you can hard dive and soft dive from high grounds and how they can give you, you know, an instant off angle. Take off angles, take flanks. Not all the time, but you know they're gonna be helpful to get around to their back line. And then just don't walk straight through the open, right? Use cover while you're walking through. Overall, that probably went to kind of around the same. Low end of a medium high. Okay, then you have awareness / aggression. So this is going to be pay attention to your team. Where are they at? Where's the enemy team at? What's going on around you? Just generally paying attention. Keep your ears open. Keep your eyes open. Watch their team. I'd recommend for like watching team comps. At a very minimum, press tab in between every single fight of the game. This gives you info. Did they swap comps? Did we swap comps? What ults do we have? Right. That gives you extra info. And then on the aggression end, we talked about. And then the reason why I put these together is because aggression and awareness are linked together. You cannot know when to play aggro if you're not paying attention to your environment. So therefore, aggro. We talked about hard diving versus soft diving, right? Hard diving is you're committing, trying to go for the kill. You usually dive straight into them. You're using a lot of your abilities. You're going in hard. You can do that when you have opportunities. You have your ultimate. You have your whole team with you. Someone's out of position. They're isolated. They're low. Don't do, and then anytime those are not the case, then you soft dive, right? You a lot of times can drop from a high ground and then leap out, or vice versa. You leap up to the high ground, or just look to get close and walk in, use cover, and then you're going in with a soft commitment. You're going in, you're looking to create space, get ult charge, make an opportunity happen, farm up some damage and whatnot, and then you're being ready for the disengage at any moment, right? Overall, that one probably went to a low end of a medium high. You know what? I'm gonna put, just because it's like hopefully a little bit easier. I'm gonna bump up just to make this easier to separate. I'm gonna bump up your target priority because all those other categories had like a ton of other things, but mechanics was really mainly target priority. So mechanics gets bumped up a little bit. So to put that all in order for you, right? Number one.
Okay.
Mechanics, right? Probably one of the easier things, hopefully, to implement, and then one is very important. Number two, probably going to go to your awareness / aggression. Number three, your also in awareness, another big one I missed. Oh snap, another massive one that I missed. It was your kill feed watching, right? Watch kill feed, 1 to 2 advantage, disadvantage, 2 to 3 won or lost fight. Remember those numbers, because oftentimes people forget them when I come back for a second session. Then besides that, right, just don't go. But the main culprit that you had was you would walk back in without looking at your team, right? So press tab, watch kill feed, spectate while you're dead, you can see your teammates through the walls, right, is another thing, right? Just pay attention to how many teammates, like what's going on, right? Because we walked into probably around like 4 fights when we already lost the fight before we even walked in, right? And then that stops us from staggering. And then overall, that one probably goes. So here's how I would shake it down, right? That one probably goes to the most in terms of content, but I'm going to put number 1 at the target priority still, because it probably, like I said, it's probably going to be a little bit easier to implement. You can get it out of the way and then start working on other things, right? So number 1, mechanics. Number 2, awareness/aggression. Number 3, positioning. Number 4, ability usage. Number 5, ultimate usage. We didn't really talk too much about it, right? Any questions?
No, that's pretty excited to get started on shoring up some or climbing up the ladder.
Sounds good with me. So let me stop the recording there.